Hey, everybody, I want to welcome you to this week's Matrix discussion group call for tactical sovereignty. And I'm just going to run over kind of some basics, I think, this evening. And I want to start by really telling people, for starters, why the group Tactical Sovereignty was started out. Okay. Because I've heard over time a lot of different claims of, this is being pushed or that's trying to be sold or, you name it. I've pretty much heard it all. And so just to give people an introductory idea as to why the group even started, it was initially a few years ago just as a quick and easy place to store stuff without using a computer or a PC or anything like that. That way it could just be done with the phone wherever I was at, whatever I was sitting maybe in line for something at, and I was sitting there going through search engines, looking up different information or whatever. It was just an easy place to store stuff. And at the same time, other people decided that they wanted to start following the group as well. It started out as a secret group. And I told a couple people about it, and they're like, "Oh, you need to open it up more, make it public." And I didn't want to make it public because that just leads to way too many problems. So I made it a closed or private group on Facebook, and that way people could just kind of follow along my journey and see what I was looking at, and watch the direction I was heading in, and they could kind of study along and see the things I was finding and pulling up and throwing in the group. So that was the main purpose. And at the same time that I did that, I decided that I was not going to be following any of, the talking heads in the truth community or the patriot community or whatever. Those are things that people quickly find when they get online. And it's easier to pay more attention to them than it is really to do the work of doing your own research. And I felt it was important to do your own research because so many of the things that I was hearing just they didn't resonate with me. Something just seemed incorrect about it. Mostly because what you find are a whole lot of claims. A lot of claims. Well, the claims, unfortunately, are also unsubstantiated. They are not sourced material. You're not giving any backing as to why people think what they're thinking. That's why one of my favorite questions to people is, "Who told you that?" Why do you believe that? Because a belief is just a belief. It's not knowledge. It's just something somebody supposes to be true. And so I wanted to get in and really learn the principles, learn the moving parts of how everything worked, and at the same time make sure that one deception wasn't being traded for another. Because I find a lot of people start heading into, the air quotes, truth community, and they start picking up on some of these fallacies that are unfounded, and they're just another set of deceptions, as opposed to the ones that are presented to everybody in our daily life. And that was something that I definitely wanted to get away from. And at the same time, make sure that, you know, I wasn't falling for any of the shiny objects in the pathway. And the number one shiny object normally everybody stumbles across it really has to do with finances. And because it seems like everybody wants to get stuff for free. So yeah, those shiny objects, you can't let them distract you. And in the end, you've got to really learn what it comes down to is you controlling the intake of knowledge yourself, which really lays at the heart of self-governance, which is what you end up finding everything really is about. It's about self-governance, because everything that's been done up to this point is trying to get people to look in another direction, watch the sky for somebody to come take care of you, or, just sit back and pop some popcorn, enjoy the show. Nothing is about you actually doing something yourself. And that's really what has to be done. You have to start making some changes within yourself, because the way you've set up life, the way you've organized life, and the platform you're operating from, I call it the platform of the peasants. They want people to all operate like the peasants, because as long as they do that, they will remain a peasant. And so tonight, one of the things that I wanted to cover is what I call the 12 myths, or the 12 falsehoods in the truther community or patriot community. I know that kind of sounds like an oxymoron, but I've found that there really are some serious falsehoods within this whole truth community. And these things, really, at the heart of them, what they are, they're just distractions. They're things that keep you from doing your own research, doing your own learning to find out what's really going on. Um, I'm wearing the Port Huron to Mackinac race shirt tonight, so thought it was appropriate to have the Mackinac Bridge in the background as well. I guess just gotta make it a theme, because a lot of this is really what all is at the heart of it. Is we're coming across a bridge. You come across a bridge, it's going to lead you from, like I said, one way of living your life into another way of living your life. And the first thing that has to be done in crossing that bridge is you have to change your mindset. You have to change totally the way you think about everything. That's why it's very easy when speaking to somebody to find out where they are at on this path, because in time, your language changes depending on where you're at in the path, where you're at on crossing that bridge. You start to verbalize things much different. For instance, you quit talking about our government and our president, or things like that, things of that matter. So I just want to cover these 12 items that I came across. And I think the first one, probably one of the most popular ones, is people thinking or saying that you're a corporation. Anybody saying that, you know that they've pretty much done absolutely zero research on their own. They don't even know what a corporation is, because a corporation requires some elements in order to be a corporation. For one, it has to have its papers, its organizational papers filed. That's when an organization becomes an organization. But at the same time, it's going to have officers, it's going to have its own set of rules, its bylaws, it's going to have recorded meetings. I mean, there's going to be elections maybe for officers and things like that within a corporation. And I'm sorry, nobody has those things. It just doesn't exist. Um, I think people go and they look up the definition of person, and among the number of things listed there, they're going to find corporation. And so they're like, oh, yeah, corporation. Well, there's also partnerships, trusts, associations, organizations. All of those things fall under the header of person. Okay. They're not just, it just doesn't say persons equals corporations. No, that doesn't work that way. Uh, One of the number two things I found, and this falls under the whole money trap idea, and those are the people ultimately that you always see end up getting busted too. They're the ones that end up going to prison. The people that mess with the coin of the realm, those are the people that tick the king off the most. And so they'll make claims about the birth certificate, saying that it's a contract. Well, no, there's no contractual obligations listed there. Majority believe it's a financial instrument, all right, and that those red numbers on it, because they're red, they are a CUSIP number. No, it's not the case. That is merely tracking numbers. Whenever an inquiry is done, and I've spent hours talking to Vital Stats about this as well, those red numbers are tracking numbers, and whenever an inquiry is made, that tracking number jumps up by one. And I tested this and found it to be true myself. I went and ordered 3 copies just to see what would happen. And sure enough, they all came in sequential order. Another one, People stumble across, this is number 3, people stumble across an organization called the United States Corporation Company. Sometimes it's even just called the Corporation Company. And they think they have found the United States. Oh my God, here they are. This is the evidence, No, those are just the agents for service of process. If you call them up and talk to them, one of the things they're going to ask you is, why do you need us? Are you having legal things filed with the United States? Or are you suing an agency of the United States? What do you need us? Because those are the services they provide. They have absolutely nothing done or to do rather with the structure itself of US Inc. Number 4, going back to that birth certificate, people say, "Oh, it's on bond paper. And that's evidence that it's a bond. This is a document being traded. Yeah, it's bond paper." And I'm sorry, but your college diploma, your high school diploma, even possibly, is on bond paper. Marriage licenses are on bond paper. Many things are on bond paper. And some things are on bond paper that do get traded, such as mortgages, mortgage notes. Those are on bond paper. But that's just a matter of security. It's just a security feature. That's all it is. It doesn't mean that it's a bond. Actually, I've shown through UCC really what that document is. It's a notice of interest in a registered organization. And according to their wording, it's evidence that an organization was organized. Myself, I don't think organization is the exact correct terminology for it. I would see it maybe more as a partnership. Number 5, people talk about admiralty law. Technically, it's admiralty jurisdiction and maritime law. And those things have to be in place. I mean, there's so much water within the USA and surrounding the USA, and all of cargo and trade coming in and out of the USA is over water. So yes, there has to be maritime law put in place there for such things, but that's not what your local courthouse is under. There's a number of cases that I've looked at, not just for this particular reason, but other curiosities that occurred, say, for instance, on cruise ships. And when incidents that I read about had occurred on cruise ships, I read very, very often people that were involved with it many times said they would never go on a cruise again, just because of the way the admiralty law was structured in dealing with a legal incident that they went through while they were there. That they did not like the way that maritime law worked, and so they, in fact, were even kind of swearing off going on cruises because of it. Number 6, and this first came about 2.5 years ago. There was a group that started saying it. Now a lot of people are saying it, but that law is an acronym that stands for land, air, water. All I really thought when I saw that is, oh, that's kind of cute. Yeah, it's a cute way maybe of remembering, jurisdictions of land, air, water. But when you see the word law written, I don't think I've ever seen it fully capitalized. Acronyms are fully capitalized. And the word law, if you really want to get technical about it, they're missing a letter, because when law was originally written, it was written with 2 L's, L-L-A-W. And the reason why goes back to the symbology of letters, such as in Hebrew, those letters are all symbolic of something. And those 2 L's were used as a symbol of showing that law was not stagnant. It was like the 2 legs of a man. It was always moving. It was always changing. And I think if you look at things over time within different types of situations, you'll see how law has changed, how it views things differently today than maybe it did 100 years ago. Maybe law actually is an acronym for lawless arrest warrant. That one maybe might be a little more accurate, but anyway, just kind of kidding. Number 7, law of the land versus the law of the sea. And this goes back a little bit into talking about the admiralty jurisdiction, maritime law. And so many people are wanting to be on the land. Everything they do, oh, I'm on the land. This kind of goes back to Freeman on the land movement. Myself, I don't see really why you would want to landlock yourself. As far as I know, the Creator gave mankind dominion over the whole earth, not just over the land. Oh, stay away from the water. I mean, if you're going to do that, I guess maybe you need to quit eating fish. You need to quit going fishing, quit enjoying your days at the beach. I don't know. Number 8, public servants. Public servants. There's a group, I think, on Yahoo called Holding Your Public Servants Accountable or something like that. They've been around for quite a while. And those people are very active. I'll commend them. They're very active. But with the amount of research and studying that it looks like has happened in there, I don't know how in the world they still think that those public servants are your personal servants, or that you are part of the public. You're part of the general public, but not the public. The public is those agencies. Right? Those are the wings of government. That is the public. And so guess what? You're not going to hold them accountable. If you think so, you think the White House is your house, go ask the people from January 6th and see what they have to say about that. Evidently, they found out very much different. But, these public servants, and you see protect and serve, for instance, on things. Yeah, they are there to protect and serve. They're there to protect and serve the corporate interest, bottom line. They're there to protect and serve the people who are signing their paycheck. That's all there is to it. Number 9, people look a lot for remedy, which frustrated me right off the get, because this kind of goes back to the maritime law thing. Because remedy is really the second out of 3 steps in maritime law. The first one is salvage, which is also maintenance. The second is remedy, and the third one is cure. Myself, I would much rather cure than put a Band-Aid on something. This is basically, with maritime law, it'd be like, bailing out the water and then patching the leak and then plugging the leak, that kind of idea. Number 9 would be something that is not addressed hardly at all. Because if it was, it would clear up a lot of questionable issues, a lot of these other falsehoods. And that is comprehending contract law and what it's really about, because it's very often misunderstood. I've said before, we need to realize that any time a signature is required, it's because there is a contract somewhere in the background. That's the only time a signature is absolutely required. And people mistakenly think that these contracts have to follow an order of contents. They have to have elements within them. There's offer and acceptance. Yeah, that's always within a contract. Being of age majority. No, that's not necessarily true with contracts. You don't have to be 18 or 21 in order to sign a contract. People started signing contracts and filing with the IRS as young as 15, 16 years old. They're getting involved with contracts then, and they weren't 18 yet. We need to realize, really, with contracts, that they're not just seen as having to be a piece of paper, but really what's involved in there and what courts will look for is they're going to look for performance. Was there performance of a contract? If there was performance of a contract, then that can be evidence of a contract. And we contract with people many times a day, actually, um, and in different forms. You turn on the blinker on your car, you're providing notice. You're letting people know you're moving over. You hold the door open for somebody, you're making a contractual offer. They walk through it, they accepted your offer. That so many little things are all involved with contract law. And I would really say that contract law is tightly connected to natural law. If you stop and think about it, a lot of things wouldn't happen if there wasn't an agreement within nature to allow those things to happen. And when I talk about performance, I'm not just talking about, maybe something that's required in order for the contract to be valid, or something that was a requirement within a contract, but even something as simple as accepting a benefit. Accepting a benefit is symbolism of you accepting the offer right there. I mean, because really with contracts, it comes down to offer and acceptance. As long as those things can be proven, then there you go. There's more likely a contract involved. Um, Another big one, number 11, would be secret birth certificate treasury accounts. You've got money out there waiting for you. No, you don't. The only investment that you have that you can use are investments that you have made yourself. Sorry, bottom line, just the way it works. Is there a trust out there? Yes, there's public trust. You hear about the public trust all the time. I call this the public pool, the pool everybody pees in. You know what I mean? And that public trust is one that's being used to take care of things as a whole. Now, I know there are other trust accounts set up under Social Security, but those, from everything I've found so far, not to say that there might not be something out there, but I really doubt it. But those, so far from what I've seen, those are also blanket trusts, whether to take care of, say, for instance, like unemployment, or people who are disabled, or people that are physically or mentally diminished, things like that. And still, those aren't just personal for one individual, for one man or woman. They cover a group of people. And number 12 to me is the solution. Where's the solution? And to me, the solution would be, number one, realizing how you've locked yourself in, how you've tightened the cuffs on you, tightened the chains by accepting all of these other contracts, and you've never established your own contract. You don't have your own, I don't like calling it a social compact, because it isn't something that would really just pertain to everybody. It's something of yours. It's something that dictates who and what you are, how you live, and what you're going to follow, bottom line. Because you were born with the gift of choice. We need to, I really like using Hebrew as an example, because if you go into Hebrew and you look, for instance, at good versus evil, say like in Genesis, where, he created such and such and it was good, hey, go in and research what those words really were about, because that language also lays at the heart of the English language too. And things that are good are things that are natural, which makes sense. Well, what would things that are evil be? Things that are evil would then, of course, be things that are unnatural. And so if something is being done that is unnatural, yes, that could be considered evil. And we should be trying to stay, within natural law and doing things the way they're naturally supposed to be. One of the natural things that are given to us is our gift of choice. That's good. Well, whoever tries to remove that choice from you, well, that would be considered something that's evil. And this was a gift to us by our Creator. And unfortunately, it's a gift that people don't really use a whole lot. That they seem to be wanting to have man or somebody else dictate to them what they should do, when they should do it, how they should do it. Oh my gosh, it's getting into, you got to take care of your taxes, you got to do this, you got to do that. You spend so much time doing supposedly what you've got to do instead of sitting back and saying, wait a minute, I've got a choice in these matters. I'm not put here to follow the dictates of a monarch or a dictator or a CEO or whatever the case may be. Yeah, I'm here to follow the dictates of my creator and to be able to weigh things, to rightly divide within my own mind and decide what path I need to follow. Those are just some very basic things that I came across, and these are things that I believe really mislead people within the movement. These are things probably we should really look more into. Like, go back and listen to this. This was very short. Take notes of those 12 things and decide how they apply to you, and maybe even how they've been misdirecting you on your path, misdirecting you on your journey, misdirecting you on your right of freedom of choice, your right on doing what is good. Like I tell people every week, if you really want to know what to study, what to learn, yeah, there's three basic things you need to figure out. Learn where you came from, learn who you really are, learn who you are supposed to be, not what somebody's dictating to you, and learn where you're really at, because we've been deceived on all three of those things. Hope everybody has a wonderful evening and look forward to seeing you next Sunday, the first day of the week, not the 7th, not the Sabbath. Yeah, another one of those deceptions. Good night.